Hey, Ed.
Good evening, Yorktown. Welcome to the town board meeting for Tuesday, May 5th. I ask everyone, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
of the United States of America
and
and
to
to
the
the republic
for which
stands
and one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you. And please join me in a moment of silence, remembering in our prayers all of our first responders, all of our frontliners. Also in our prayers for National Teachers Week, all of our educators who continue to do great work with the next generation.
And if we could also remember one of our residents that passed not from COVID-19, Bill Roberts, who
Yes,
very active in the community.
a former employee.
I just want to say all the people around the globe, they are suffering for coronavirus, and those who are no longer with us in this world, nearly 250,000 people. God bless them and God bless us all. We are everybody together to pray for them and their peace for their family.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Patel, Councilman Latterman. Introductions. We have with us, I guess I'll do introductions since we don't have everyone talking over each other. We have Councilman Ed Lachterman, Councilman Tom Diana. On the phone, we have Councilwoman Alice Roker, Councilman Patel. We have with us our Town Clerk, Diana Quaps. We also have with us our Highway Superintendent, Dave Paganelli. And we have our Town Attorney, Adam Rodriguez. And I see here our Town Planner, John Tegeter.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, all, and an early happy Mother's Day to all our moms out there.
Absolutely. It's a good one. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. So for reports this week, I want to take a moment. Also, we recognized our educators. I also want to recognize our librarians. It was National Library Week, and our staff over at the John C. Hart Library continues to do really great work for our community, despite the challenges of COVID-19. We've had a significant increase in our e-book use, and I have the statistics actually right here. We have seen in April 4,996 as the number, which is an all-time high. In comparison, last year that number stood at 2,781. Those are the stats for ebook use. So our ebook collection, which we've invested additional dollars in, and our director Jennifer O'Neill's done a great job with, is definitely seeing a high frequency of use. Our assessment roll is due in a few weeks, and our town assessor Kim Penner and her staff are working diligently on that. Our R&R staff, I got good information from our director, Kim Inglis-Gage. Section 3, we've been talking about bulk pickup. I know I'm getting a lot of questions and phone calls from staff, and I just want to put this into perspective. We have 5 people working 6 to 2 for bulk trash. In Section 3, which just ended, they collected 180 tons. 180 tons of bulk trash. And so we've continued to delay, unfortunately, because of that high volume. But to put that in perspective, 5 workers a day moving 180 tons of bulk trash. A huge thanks goes to our R&R staff who continue to do that.
Absolutely.
Our nutrition center continues to work under the direction of Noreen O'Driscoll, who's doing a great job. They're serving 128 meals to those homebound seniors. Anybody who is looking to be included in their Meals on Wheels program, please call 914-962-7447, and they're going to process your application. Our building department is now performing virtual inspections. I believe we're the first municipality in the county to offer virtual inspections. The backlog of reviews have been completed, and they are now accepting applications for outdoor seating for our dining establishments in preparation of when we can begin reopening our town and our economy. I know Highway Superintendent Paganelli's on, and I don't want to take up too much of his report. I'm happy to share that we are still averaging 200 vehicles a day up at the organic waste yard. The Highway Department has been engaged in drainage projects. They've been working on Underhill Avenue, right across the street from Town Hall. They've also got drainage projects scheduled for Mark Road and Quinlan Street. Con Ed is looking to restart their work in approximately 2 weeks, beginning at Gomer Street and Granite Springs. From our building maintenance department, then there's a new sidewalk outside of the Albert A. Cappellini Community and Cultural Center, and they are continuing to work with our Landmarks Commission to finalize the stairs that are at one of the main entrances.
Yep.
I want to thank all of our departments who helped us with today's senior mask distribution. We had members of our Parks and Rec department. We had members of our library, our water department. We had our police department there. We had our director of senior services, Noreen O'Driscoll. I know town clerk Diana Quast, as well as Councilman Diana and Councilman Lachterman joined me, as did Assemblyman Kevin Byrne. If any of our seniors or immunocompromised neighbors need a cloth mask, these are masks that were procured from the Westchester County in partnership with Hanes. If you do need a mask and you're a senior or immunocompromised, please call my office at 914-962-5722, extension 200, and we can arrange for a pickup or drop off. I do want to talk about COVID-19, obviously. We have new data from Westchester County, and Westchester County is going to be providing new information, which I think is going to be very helpful for the public in understanding the impact it's had in our community. Total cases as it stands today in Yorktown is 601. That may seem like a big jump, but there, as we've said before, there's been a backlog. There's also been a large pool of unassigned positive tests, unassigned by municipality, and the Westchester County Department of Health has done a really, really good job catching up with that backlog. So we stand at total cases of 601. Active cases, they're now providing the active case number, and this is defined as those who have tested positive in the last 2 weeks. The active cases in the town of Yorktown is 121, and we have 17 new cases. It is important to note, and this was just reported about an hour ago, that Westchester County has seen a spike in hospitalizations as of last night. So we are still battling COVID-19, and I really want to emphasize that despite the information that we're providing, which may seem that we are on a downward trend, and we are, but it's still a very dangerous situation that we're managing. Again, our team is working to update our community tracker to properly reflect all the numbers that I've reported. So continue to utilize the COVID-19 Community Impact Dashboard. That can be found on the town's website. And one of the things that I continue to get questions on is the impact on town finances. And I think it's really important for us to provide as much information to the public as we can. I really want to thank our comptroller, Pat Caparel. She's been just tremendous, providing much information to us as possible. It's important to know that Yorktown is in a much better position than a lot of municipalities across Westchester County. And a lot of credit goes to past administrations who have put us in this position. Many municipalities are looking at furloughs, they're looking at pretty extensive borrowing, because fact of the matter is the 2019-2020 budget is completely busted. And if you look at the numbers in that budget, we were expecting $29.4 million in revenue. To date, we've collected $13.8 million, and we're projecting a revenue gap of $8.2 million. And that equates to a 27.8% revenue shortfall. The tax deadline just passed us. It was April 30th. As a reminder, for those who are negatively impacted financially by COVID-19, and you are a STAR recipient, you do qualify for a waiver. So please contact the tax receiver's office for more information on that, or visit the tax receiver's website where all that information is. There's also a reduced penalty structure, a reduced penalties, fee structure, which is a 0.5% penalty for the month of May, 1% for June up to July 15th. It's all in place. But I think it's important to understand that the budget's broken down into different pots. And we have our general fund, obviously the highway fund, our library, our water, R&R, our sewer districts. These are all different pots that we collect money for. We also collect money for Westchester County. And I was having a conversation with Councilwoman Roker about this. Westchester is an anomaly. We are the only county that has the towns collect taxes and distribute them to the county, to the school district, to the individual special districts. From the county standpoint, we owe them every year, or at least this year, $20 million. That first payment, it's a 60-40 break. That first payment is due May 25th. We'll be paying about $12.6 million on May 25th. The good news is that we can pay that first installment. So that's great to hear, because again, many municipalities are in a much different situation and can't even muster the funds to pay their initial county warrants. The balance becomes due in November. Currently, like I said, we are supposed to pay the county $20.7 million. We've collected $18.7 million for the county taxes, which leaves a balance of just over $2 million. But it's important to understand that even if we don't collect that money, we still have to pay it. So we're short in the collection of $2 million, but because of the way that our tax collection is structured in Westchester County, again, being the anomaly, the town of Yorktown still has to pay that $2 million difference, whether we collect it or take it out of our operating budget or reserves. So that's a synopsis of where we are financially. Just like our budgets at home, clearly we're going to have to make adjustments, just like everybody else who's struggling financially with COVID-19. That's how we look at this. If folks at home, and we have this conversation around my kitchen table as well, if you see a decrease in revenue of that magnitude of 27%, you have to make adjustments on your expenditures, which is what we're doing. But I really want to emphasize the fact that it's really not doom and gloom for the town. Again, we're in a much better position than many municipalities in Westchester County. I view it as a challenge. I think we're going to have to really rethink how we deliver services. We have to rethink what those services are and how we can become more efficient. That's the challenge that's being posed to this town right now. I think that we've proven before, time and again, that we lead from the front. We continue to find creative ways to support our businesses, to enhance our services. And this is just another one of those challenges. And the board has proven this incredible ability to work together for the good of our residents. I'm confident we're going to continue to do that. And we're going to be doing it in a much more creative way. And so I'm happy to, again, if residents have questions, they're more than able to call me at 914-962-5722, extension 200. Once again, having our question and answer session, which we've been doing every Sunday at 6 p.m. So plenty of opportunities. If you have additional questions, I'm always willing to have a conversation with folks. You can also email me at mslater@yorktownny.org. And that concludes my report to the town. And we will now move to reports from the town council.
Will I go first, guys?
Councilman Lackman.
All right. So, it's funny. Councilman Diana made a comment about Mother's Day, and at the same time, I'd received a email that popped up on screen about one of my friends in their restaurant and local businesses, just to keep an idea that the percentage down is in for lack of a better word, sickening of what, even the people that are able to be open, what theirs are. So, the shop local, see about gift cards for when people reopen, takeout orders, just tremendous, tremendous loss of revenue in our community, as well as, at the town level. And that there was a, the point about Mother's Day came up in that email saying, hey, we're going to miss it for what the restaurant and gift business is really the busiest time of the year. Keep those local people in your mind, the local businesses, and see what we could do. Go around town and spend what money we have to spend there, and try to keep it local. The other thing, I wanted to let people know that the Yorktown Lions summer concerts, where we normally have 6 during the year, at this time the Lions have decided to cancel the June and July concerts, which there were only one in each month. Usually we do the last week of June, and because of the Yorktown stage schedule, where we have to have that available to go inside, we were only able to have one weekend in July. So those 2 are canceled as of now, and the Lions are going to step back and look at what happens in August and go a little by what the governor is saying and what they're coming back with. So we'll have some decisions made at that point when we get a little more guidance. One group that we sort of forgot to mention during the opening moment of silence yesterday, International Firefighters Day, and firefighters are putting their lives on the line in many ways every time they go out. So, recognize them and thank them for everything they do. And then, okay, I should write stuff down because, as Matt knows, I'm getting very forgetful lately. There was one other thing which skipped my mind, so maybe after someone else, if it comes back, I'll jump in.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Diana?
Thank you, Supervisor. I just want to touch on a few points. This past weekend, we had the opportunity to go down to T-Town Reservation to try and monitor the traffic flow in and out of that location due to a parking situation that occurred the weekend before. And although we welcome everyone to come into our trails and do their hiking, etc., get out in the air a little bit, if you see that the trailhead is full, please get on our website and see if you can find another park in our town to go to. The double parking on the roadways and stuff offers a bit of a challenge to our emergency services that may have to come down that way, be it ambulance, firemen, or fire trucks, or police. So just keep that in mind if you would. The masks at Jefferson Village went extremely well today. I don't have the count, Matt, but there was a number of them.
Yeah, over 1,000.
Yeah, it went extremely well. And thank you, everybody from the departments that came out and helped at that location. We were talking about bulk trash before, and one thing that I did want to bring up about bulk trash, I know everybody's home. They're cleaning out their attics and their basements, and including myself, and getting rid of all the stuff that's been lingering around all winter. Just keep in mind that if you're going to have a large amount of bulk trash that you're putting out that like goes from curb to curb, you must notify our R&R department. They will only be able to pick up so much. Thus, the increase in the amount of tonnage that is out there at this present time. One place I drove by the other day, I think Ed drives by it almost every day, is it's lined from a main road right down the side road. And they are aware of it, and I believe they talked to those people and said, 1 or 2 mattresses out there they can understand, but not 6. So they're importing, if you want to call it that, importing of garbage. The trashed gloves and masks, folks, please make sure they end up in a receptacle. Don't throw them on the ground outside the supermarkets, places of business, roads, roadsides, etc. Our code enforcement personnel are doing an awesome job out there trying to enforce the littering law for this reason. We need to police ourselves, okay? It's disgusting that folks take gloves off their hands, throw them on the ground with receptacles right nearby, and expect somebody else to pick them up. This is what York counters do. So please do that. If our code enforcement people are out there and they see you deposit something on the ground, on the road, etc., you're going to get a summons, and our fines have been increased to $1,000 for littering. So I hate to end on a bad note. And so once again, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
And if I may, I remember what was in my mind because we were talking about remembering our local businesses. Let's also remember our local not-for-profits. Today is a new Giving Tuesday, where it's normally around Thanksgiving. Today is a second Giving Tuesday, and a lot of those charitable donations may be matched. Check with your favorite charity on the Giving Tuesday website.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Roker.
Yeah, and I first must start with a question to you, Matt. In the event there are residents who don't have masks, do we still have some available that they can come to Town Hall and get?
Yes, they can contact my office at 914-962-5722, extension 200. We've been we have had several who've called. We did drop off, Town Clerk Quast and I dropped off masks to Beaver Ridge. We dropped off masks over the weekend to Wynwood Oaks. We were over at Jefferson Village, obviously, today. I think we're going to try to plan a second one at some point. We have to just check our inventory, but we're trying to get them out to anybody who needs them. Our building department's been helpful with small businesses, our delis and places that continue to serve takeout have asked for some help with the cloth masks, which we've brought to them as well. So yeah, anyone can just call the office and we'll arrange for masks to be delivered to you.
That's wonderful. Since we're encouraging people to use them, and since they were donated to the town, I think it's helpful for other people in the event they need them. The one thing you left off of Noreen Driscoll's department was we also deliver meals for people who live in Somers.
That's right. Yeah.
Her numbers for Somers have also doubled.
Yep.
So, I just want to thank that kitchen staff who really worked very hard on those days when all of those meals have to go out and be delivered. It is hard, but they do it, and they don't complain. And, I just want to thank them on behalf of the people who get the food for doing it. And I did have another question, but old age is creeping and I forgot, so I'll come back later.
Very good. Very good. Councilman Patel, report to the town.
I will make it the shortest, but let me just start saying at the T-Town, the entire board was there. It was very nice, that beautiful day, and we were able to help them as well as visitors at the T-Town for their safety of themselves and those who are visiting there. So all I want to tell you in short here is you are not alone. Acting in gratitude, learn and grow and make the best of bad situation into good situation. May God bless to each and everyone. And happy Mother's Day to each and everyone, not only in Yorktown, anyone in the United States, but around the globe. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Councilman.
Oh, I remembered what I was going to say.
Yes, Councilwoman Roper.
What I was going to say is that I'm looking forward to when restaurants are back because, we worked last week and on that proposal to allow more dining outside so that if people don't feel comfortable eating inside, they can dine outside. And I think that's going to be wonderful.
Yep.
Looking forward to that.
I agree. And again, the building department's already taking those applications to expand their outdoor dining in preparation of when we can see that portion of the phase program that Governor Cuomo is implementing.
Yes.
We have a report from Highway Superintendent Paganelli.
Well, Highway, happy Mother's Day to all the moms. We are, as of yesterday, back to 100% staffing, which is a good thing. And I thank you for working on that so the town stays compliant with respect to the 50% staffing that we were able to bring our people back. And thank you for mentioning the projects we're working on. And we will be out. You'll see our sweepers out. You'll see our tree crews out. You'll see our catch basin crews out. You will be put up probably 100 no parking signs at various town roads and down Blinn Road and Spring Valley Road, and today over at Turkey Mountain, just trying to keep things safe and be able to get emergency vehicles through. And, God bless Yorktown, and I'll keep it brief. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Highway Superintendent Paganelli. We are now up to our Poet Laureate, Mr. John McMullen. Hope you're doing well.
I am, and I hope everyone is. I didn't get in 2 weeks ago. I have a short poem from them and then a short one from today.
Great.
All in all, the crisis has disrupted my entire life, but I don't have the virus. I'm locked in a house most of the day, but I'm with my wife and pets. I can't go to any of my various meetings and lunches, but I'm Zoom meetings with hundreds of friends. Certainly my whole life has been disrupted, but I'm alive, at home with my wife, a dog and 3 cats, with books to read, and fodder for poems. So, all in all, I'm very grateful. The other one that I did today, because I've had to write a poem every day for National Poetry Month, and it's called Onward. Well, it's the end of April, the first National Poetry Month under coronavirus for lockdown. When will it end? Who knows? Will it end? Yes. Then how will it end? Will we be stronger, kinder, more vigilant? And will I still be here and writing poetry? Hopefully. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, John. We appreciate it as always. We have now presentations. Thrilled to have Kira Bruner of Alliance for Safe Kids with us. Kira, how you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
We're good. We're good.
Good. Well, thank you so much for having me on today. And hi, everyone on the Zoom and to those watching at home or wherever you are. I first want to say that I hope that everyone and your families are doing well. It has and it still is an unusual time, and knowing that our town is taking all the measures to keep us informed and safe during this time is really comforting. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Kira.
Yeah. But tonight I'm here. I'm glad to be representing ASK and sharing some information about some upcoming events that we have happening at ASK. So for those of you who don't know Alliance for Safe Kids, or ASK, our mission is to connect the community to resources concerning youth mental health, prevention of substance abuse, and opportunities for thoughtful service. So with the circumstances that we've all been dealt with, ASK has made a quick shift to continue to connect our community to valuable resources virtually. And we have partnered with the town to create the Yorktown Together COVID-19 Resource Guide, which has verified and accurate information regarding a range of topics. So if anyone is interested, you can visit our website, allianceforsafekids.org, or the town website, yorktownny.org, to find the guide if you're looking for some resources, for some help, anything like that. Also, May is the start of Mental Health Awareness Month, and we have so many opportunities this month that support the awareness of mental health, and I'm excited to share them with you. So first, we usually host an in-house community service twice a month where volunteers would come to our office and help with a variety of projects that we have going on. But due to our circumstances right now, we are actually going to be starting to do in-house virtually. So next Tuesday, which is May 12th at 4:30 p.m., we are going to be hosting an in-house via Zoom. So if anyone is interested, you can email Liz at allianceforsafekids.org. We are going to be making projects. We're making cards for United for the Troops, which is an amazing organization. We're really happy to help them out in their efforts. We have a video project that we're going to be working on, social media campaigns, continuing to build those resources that can go on the COVID-19 guide. And we also have focus groups that will help plan Save a Life, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So some really great stuff happening that way. And I'm also happy to announce that we are going to be having our third virtual parent support network on Tuesday, May 21st at 7:30 p.m. Youth Mental Health Project, which is a great organization as well, hosts the Yorktown Parent Support Network meeting. And the attendance has been strong. It continues to be strong, and we're really happy about that. And these virtual meetings are open to parents or caregivers that are experiencing mental health issues with their children in the family. So advanced sign up is required. If anyone is interested, you can also email Liz at allianceforsafekids.org.
Do you have a link for that one? Is there a link for sign up? Yeah, you have a link for that one?
You have to email us directly to be able to go on the list. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. And lastly, and most exciting, I think, Saturday, May 18th at 7 p.m. will be our Save a Life webinar, which the topic is managing stress and anxiety during COVID-19. So we were prepared to offer this workshop physically at Save a Life, which was going to be in March. But we are excited to bring it virtual and bring a webinar to our community. So in our efforts to continue supporting our community and giving them those additional tools, we are installing our first webinar to address the needs for COVID-19. And again, it ties in May being Mental Health Awareness Month and really being here for our community and letting them know that there are people out there and organizations there to help them during this time. So teens and adults are encouraged to attend. And we do ask that you sign up in advance because we are going to be asking questions you would like answered prior to the webinar, so we can get those planned out and have your answers ready when it comes time for that. So, amazing things.
That we can be supportive, just let us know.
What was that?
If there's any way that we can be supportive, just let us know.
Fantastic. We will. That's great. We love to get the support of the town, and you guys have been awesome. You've come to all of our past Save Lives and really been supportive. So, virtually, I hope we can do the same.
Absolutely.
Great. And lastly, I just wanted to remind everyone that today is Giving Tuesday Now, or hashtag Giving Tuesday Now. And it is a global day of giving and unity that is in response to the unprecedented need caused by COVID-19. And the goal is that everyone can come together to drive a spike in generosity, citizen engagement, business and philanthropy activation, and really to support our community. So if anyone wants to help us or to support a local organization, you can visit our website and click the donate button. So with all of that, I know that was a lot, but Ask is so excited to be able to shift quickly during this time and still be able to provide our community with such amazing resources. And we're really thankful for technology that we're able to do that. So again, if anyone has any questions on any of these, you can direct them to Liz, who is our fantastic executive director. It's Liz, Liz, at allianceforsafekids.org. Thank you.
Sure, that's great. Thank you. And let's also, I also want to make sure that we wish Liz a very happy birthday. Her mom
Yes.
stopped by at the mask distribution today and
Oh,
grabbed her
good.
mask. Liz's birthday, and off she went. So happy birthday, Liz.
Aw.
Thank you for your work. It's tremendous.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Liz.
birthday.
And, yeah.
She's
And
gonna
Kira,
love
thank
that.
you for all your work. Kira, do we want to expand a little bit more on one of the projects that we're working on with Ask that we had started to put together today?
Yes, I think we should.
Let's
You
let's
wanna
hear
talk-
it then. Let's put
You
it
want
out
to talk about it?
there. I'll start and you finish. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, good enough. So one of the things that we're going to be putting together is a tribute video to all of our frontliners and first responders. One of my favorite things that I get to do with my kids when I try to put them to sleep is drive around all of Yorktown, like most parents, and I see these just awesome signs on people's front lawns and in their front doors, on their windows, and I think it's just so special. And really just embodies a lot of what Yorktown stands for. And so what we're going to do, we have a local celebrity. You might know her. Her name's Jessica Lynn. And she's got a song that she's willing to let us put a video together with all these pictures and messages of hope and inspiration and thank you to especially our frontliners and first responders. And now I'm going to kick it to Kira because Kira is going to be doing all the hard work. Right, Kira?
Yes, luckily we have a fantastic senior at Yorktown High School. Her name is Kayla Tobias, and she's going to be putting together this video. But we need the help from our Yorktown community, for the residents who live here, who want to pay tribute to our frontliners, who are frontliners. To send me pictures, I'll give you my email. It's KBRUNNER, kbrunner@yorktownny.org. Send me pictures, videos, anything that you feel like you would want in a video that goes to show tribute to our first liners. And we will put all that together into an amazing video that Kayla will put together, and we'll share it with all of you to see the final project. And we're really excited to start this. I think it's a fantastic idea and something that will really bring our community even closer.
Absolutely. And we also want to thank the Yorktown Teen Center. They're going to be getting involved in this. Yep. And of course, like I said, our local celebrity, Jessica Lynn, who's a product of our community. And when I called her up, I said, I have this crazy idea. What do you think? And she goes, I got the perfect song. Here you go. And so
great.
we're really excited to do this as a collaborative effort. And again, for everyone at home, if you do have a photo or short, some kind of visual that you'd like us to include, just email Kira. Again, that's kbrunner@yorktownny.org. And we're going to start compiling all that and hopefully get that together ASAP.
Yep. Matt, today we were driving, we saw so many rainbows outside of the houses and everything like that. It's just so beautiful. I know we see the commercials on TV sometimes, but now we're really making it local. So to all of our residents out there, if you have anything like that, that's perfect. We would love to have it in our video.
Absolutely. In fact, I had a Girl Scout who lives up the street from me. Mm-hmm. She was actually going around and she had painted rainbows on these little rocks, and she was putting them in front of everyone's mailbox.
Oh my gosh!
I love that.
Inspiration of hope, and I got to chat with her and her mom, and just such a cool thing. And just every little bit helps, especially during a time like this. And yep. Coming together in such a great way, like hopefully we will with this video and so many other initiatives that we've started. Will hopefully bring some comfort to people and some inspiration during such a challenging time.
Definitely.
Yeah, another thing that people are doing, I know Carol actually painted a rock because our daughter told her she needed to do it and put it out in the mailbox with a rainbow on it. But she was also going around tying blue ribbons onto people's mailboxes, which is in support of the first responders out there during the COVID-19 crisis. Yeah. Nurses.
Just so you know, Ed, the FBI is looking for her at this point in time for the federal. But all kidding aside,
that's hilarious.
Mailbox, but the FBI has been looking for her for years.
Oh, well, that's good. But
that's hilarious.
One of our water department workers' sons was given a project by his school for this.
Oh yeah.
Having to do the homeschooling through the computer, etc. And he was tasked with the job of making a sign about heroes working here. So his dad, he feels, is a hero, working with the water department, making sure we are all supplied with water all the time. He's going to do a sign for the water department, and it's going to be hung on the outside gate at the water department. So there's one you can put on your list.
Absolutely. It's great. I love it.
Well, we'll have our own sign soon, right, John?
Right,
Take it
John?
here?
You're on mute, John. Yeah,
Yes.
he's here.
We've been working on them. I hope to finalize it actually when I see you sometime this week.
Okay.
Awesome.
You know what, Kira, I just think that what you do, what S does, is just so hopeful. It gets for people who have to stay in, like me. Every once in a while, it kind of gets to you. But you know what? When you see one of those signs that brings a smile to your face, and you realize that this too shall pass. So I want to thank you for all the shut-ins like me.
Oh, well, thank you. That's really sweet. And you know, Alice, you're not alone in feeling that way. And, you know, this is, you know, such a great opportunity to anyone who feels like, you know, they're alone or this will never end. Yorktown is a strong community. We're in this together. And here's another way in which we can all support each other and bring us stronger out of this.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Kira, thanks so much. We really appreciate everything. As a reminder, we do have your PSA on the government channel.
Yes.
Tom D'Angelo wanted me to remind everybody about that. So you can catch it on the government channel. And I think we have some feedback. Oh, perfect. Thank you. But Kira, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate all your great work. And again, a happy birthday to Liz. And thank you to Liz and Trissy and you for your incredible leadership for our community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Everyone stay safe and stay healthy.
You too.
Good night, Sarah.
Thank you.
You
Bye.
do thank Kara.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. And now we have, that was just a great presentation. Such a great job. Courtesy of the floor. And we're going to turn it over to our town clerk, Diana Quas, who's controlling the courtesy of the floor apparatus that we have.
Our first speaker is Jay Kopstein.
Mr. Kopstein, how are you? Mr. Kopstein? Jay? Can you hear us?
Maybe he's on mute.
No, I see him on the screen. I just don't hear him.
Is he on mute?
No, he's not on mute. Jay? Mr. Kopstein? Maybe we can come back to him, Diana?
Yes, we can. Next would be Joanne Sillick.
How are you?
Oh, wait, there's Jay. Is that Jay?
That's me.
Mr. Kopstein, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. And good evening to everybody.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Jay.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Supervisor, you mentioned $20 million going to the county.
Yes, sir.
So my first question, does that include the funds that are paid to the county for the solid waste or the sewer system? Then my second question is, how much value do we get back from the county versus what those parasites take from us on an annual basis? And my last question, and it has to do with further down in the work session, you're going to be talking about the featherbed program.
Yes.
And based on what I saw last night on the planning board, the only thing that's left is the sewers that are going to, they want a public sewer underneath a private road. So if Dave Paganelli could answer, if they got to punch through the road to repair the sewer or perhaps a water line, who pays for the repair and to what standard does it get done? So with that, I will pass it on to
whoever's going to speak next. Thank you. Have a good night, and I'll be watching on television.
Thank you, Mr. Kopstein. Stay well.
You
Be
too.
well, Jay.
Next is Joanne Sillick.
Great.
Hi,
Joanne,
everybody.
how are you?
Hi,
Joanne.
Hi, Joanne.
Hello, everybody. I live in Jefferson Village, for those of you that don't know, and want to give a very special thanks to all our elected officials for all they did today. Standing at our parking lot, giving out reusable masks to our seniors in Yorktown. But that's just one small part of what our town board, under the leadership of Supervisor Slater, and our police force under Chief Noble, for what you've done and are doing, working tirelessly during this unprecedented time. Just want you all to know how much you're appreciated, from your Q&A every Sunday evening to keeping us safe with plexiglass in our stores, along with your usual job responsibilities. And let's not forget you, our highway superintendent, Dave Paganelli, for keeping our roads safe and running smoothly. Also, a special shout out to the president of the Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Esposito, for promoting Yorktown businesses and keeping them informed of their entitlements. Yorktown residents are very fortunate to have dedicated people working together like yourselves. I thank you with all my heart. And as the Bible says, this too shall pass. Bless you all.
Thank you,
Bless
Joanne.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night,
Thank
Joanne.
you. Good.
Nice job on Brian's.
Thank you.
Great. Diana, who else do we have?
That's all I have.
Okay, we have a motion to close courtesy of the floor.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay. Just to answer Mr. Kopstein on the sewer question, it does include the sewer payments. Yes, it includes the county sewer tax. So that's included the 20.7 million that we send to the county. As for Featherbed, I don't know if Highway Superintendent Paganelli would want to comment on that, but I think that our conversation tonight may provide some additional insight as to the direction that
I'll comment.
Okay.
Basically, as with anything, when people apply for a road opening permit, they put up a cash bond, and as we're all aware, they don't always restore our roads to our satisfaction. As a matter of fact, at this present time, I have 3 bonds that I'm holding onto because the roads were not restored to our satisfaction. I'll restore them myself and offset the monies that it cost us to do it against the bond. And if there's anything left, then they'll get what's left. So it will basically fall on highway to determine if the road has been repaired to our satisfaction.
Very good.
I hope that answers the question.
Other comments from the board? No? Okay.
Nope.
Actually, I was interested how you wanted to handle his second part of the question, but I guess we're going to.
I think we're going to focus on the work session agenda now. How's that, Councilman Lachman? And I appreciate
Let me ask,
Mr. Kopstein's sentiments in question, especially the second one. What was that, Councilman Patel?
I have a question. Is there anything we have to worry about the school taxes due and those who didn't pay? Because we have to make the payment to the school too. If that's the issue, maybe you should just make a comment on that one.
That's not till September.
They're not. Yeah, they're due in September. I think it's important for folks to understand. Again, Westchester's an anomaly. We collect taxes at the town level and disperse them, whether it's the county or the schools or any of our special districts. That's one of the confusing things that I think people sometimes misunderstand. In other counties, it's not, again, like this. This is something that, again, Councilwoman Roker, you and I spoke about this earlier today.
Yeah.
but the school taxes are due in not due until the fall. It's important to note though that, and we're gonna, I think later in the month we're gonna have our town assessor when she's ready and able to come speak to this. But there are going to be new changes to the STAR program for people who don't pay their don't pay their taxes. That STAR credit will be in jeopardy if taxes aren't paid. That's a new piece that was passed in the state budget this year. We're still getting greater information and clarity on that. And I think once we do have that information, we're going to have our assessor on to provide that explanation for people at home.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I know we have just to make sure I didn't misspeak, I know we have our comptroller on, Pat Caparella. Pat, did I cover everything right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes.
Send the refund to me.
To answer Councilman Patel, we already made the school districts whole for the 1920 school year.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. That's wonderful.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it. And
yep,
a big thank you for you and your staff for all what you guys are doing. We really do appreciate all the hard work.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Moving on to the work section. First on is Mohegan Ave retaining wall. Highway Superintendent Paganelli. Why don't we provide an update as to where this project is? And I know we also have with us our town engineer, Mike Quinn, is included as well.
Okay, so with respect to Mohegan Avenue wall, we certainly are all on the same page in terms of, our desire to get it done as expeditiously as possible. It should have been done last summer already. Unfortunately, it wasn't, and now we are dealing with this budget shortfall, which certainly is a major concern to the town, particularly, $8 million is quite a bit of money, and the Mohegan Avenue wall is a better part of $1 million. So the question becomes basically, we are committed at this point to the manufacturer for at least $130,000 and, perhaps more depending on the scenario. So the question becomes, do we, in spite of our financial situation, do we feel that this is an emergency and needs to be done? As far as I'm concerned, it's very difficult to determine what is going on underneath the roadway. We can see that the wall is deteriorating. We have done some spot repairs. Can we continue to do that without a major failure? Perhaps not. I don't know. If it was up to me, I would encourage the town board to vote to allocate the monies to repair the wall. And if my feeling is, if we're in for a nickel, we're in for a dime. It is what it is. And yes, the wall could fail at any given moment. It could last another year. Who knows?
Highway Superintendent Paganelli, if I remember correctly, to this point, we do owe money on the wall. We owe $130,000
at least
material, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that is only for half the material. So
correct.
That we're going to owe an additional $130 for all the material. So that would be $260, which is more than a quarter of the total project, correct?
In addition, yes. In addition to the funds that we've spent, drafting up the plans and, add that in where, we're up to about $300,000, which it makes more like a third of the project.
Well, one at a time. Hold on, one at a time. Councilman Diana, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. Has any of the money kicked back yet with the grant that was received, or we have?
There was no grant for this project.
There was no grant
for that.
Oh, no grant for. Oh, that's right. That was the other one. I'm sorry.
You're thinking of Veterans. You're thinking of Veterans and Hill.
Yes.
Correct. There's no grant for this project at this point in time. It is a shovel-ready project, and that's something that we've raised with the Burge Group, who's done that. Who's in the process of doing their needs assessment. So we'll see what maybe if they
All right. Can I speak?
Yeah, Councilman.
Okay, let me just say something about the wall, okay? It's because of the school issue, the schools is not interfering, the transportation. I think this is the best time to get things done. Okay, it's been going on so long, and so many little detours. We have to bite the bullet and make it safe for all to go. This is my message to all of you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Roker, you wanted to?
Yeah, just from a safety point of view, I think when David explained the problems to us last year, to me it was an emergency last year, and it every day we pass on this, it just becomes more of an emergency and more of a liability for the town in the event something bad there happens. And I know there's no guarantees that whether or not the wall can last a day or a year. My feeling is that this is a roadway that the public travels on, and we know there's a problem. And I think we have to get it done.
To Alice's point, I agree with that, especially now that we have less travel on that road, not only because of the school buses, because a lot of people are staying home, so they can take alternate routes and so forth to get in and out of there, and it would be a lot easier time to get it done.
I agree.
And I just wanted to also, and I apologize to our friend Ken Belfer, who's been a tremendous advocate for the Lake Mohegan community. I want to bring in Mike Quinn real quick as well, our town engineer, and of course our highway superintendent. Please stay on. I want to make sure that last week left this, we had $18,000 credit because of the material sub, and we were going to put the $18,000 credit towards the biodiversity filters.
Right.
I want to be once again assured that is still the plan.
That is the plan, yes. The $18,500, I believe it was, is being held in contingency. Right. The discussion was that money would be allocated specifically for that task.
And Mr. Quinn, that's your understanding as well?
Yeah, I know that we have a vendor quote for the $18,000, and Dave was talking to the contractor about doing the work for that cost. So yeah, I believe that everything is in order to move this forward.
Great.
Thank you.
What about
yeah.
oversight?
Actually, what we're talking about are two separate entities. One is the drainage that is necessary on that road as the retaining wall is being constructed. That drainage, we've reached an agreement with the contractor that we would provide the catch basins and we would provide the pipe, and they would do the install at no cost. The second part of the equation is the filters. The $18,500 is supposed to be allocated specifically to the filters,
right.
not to offset the cost of the catch basins and the pipe.
Correct.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to be clear on that.
Yep, understood. And I was asking about oversight because we were batting back and forth a few months ago about bringing in a consultant for oversight. What have we decided in that direction?
Well, Supervisor,
Michael, do you want to take this?
Yeah, we did send out an RFP. We got back some prices. The design engineers came in about $70,000, which was for daily oversight and for some office work. And there was a $4,000 allowance in there. After talking to Dave Paganelli, I think that we could handle the oversight ourselves, especially with the timing, with some other projects being pushed back. I have staff, and I will myself be involved in the day-to-day to save the town the cost of the daily inspections. We would still want to narrow the design engineer to be minimally involved for any changes that might come up or any unforeseen conditions, because they're the designers of record, and we want to make sure that they're taking the overall responsibility for this project.
So would that require another contract with them? And if so, Mr. Rodriguez, I'm guessing you would just be working with Mr. Quinn and Mr. Paganelli on that?
Yes, sure. Of course.
We would have to
But
do
wouldn't
it with
come out of the same contract that the design work came out of?
So
Mike?
the original, we had a professional service agreement with Manganero for the
Right.
design work.
Right.
And, that, like the billing rates that they were using, I believe those are still the rates that they're charging us. We may have to amend that agreement or do a new, I'll have to work with Adam on whether it's an amended agreement or a new professional service agreement. They spent some time doing the substitution review. That cost we're going to bill back to the contractor who already agreed to pay it. So we'll have to pay the contractor or we'll get reimbursed and then we'll pay Manganero for that work. I think that's how we worked it out with Pat. So,
Correct.
we have a few dollars to move around, things like that. And, a few hours of their time we'll need during construction itself.
We have an idea of what that cost is going to be?
So Dave and I were talking earlier today, and we think the total outlay for Manganero will be on the order of $12,000 to $15,000. That includes about $5,500 that we would be getting back from the contractor. So, if you deduct that, it's something on the order of $7,000 to $10,000. So we would look at if there's any money left in the previous agreement. I don't remember if there was, but might be a few $1,000s left in that prior agreement. So if we're going to do an amendment, we would just be for the balance. It probably would be like an hourly rate type thing since we don't have any defined scope for them. It's just if we need them, we want to have them available.
I know we still have Pat Caparella with us. Pat, do you recall if there's anything left from that original allocation for Manganero?
I'm just trying to look that up now for you.
Great. And I'm guessing we're going to need another resolution approving this, Adam?
Yeah, please.
Well, Pat's requesting it, so.
Who am I to disagree?
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question after Pat answers?
Of course, or you can ask it while she's looking.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Michael, if you asked them in the RFP to provide a cost for oversight, you're saying that was not included in the original contract?
That's correct. The original contract was only for design. I want to say it was around $28,000, $30,000 for design work.
Okay.
Did that also include the bid specs, Michael, correct?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
All the bid documents and all that work was included.
Okay. Okay.
As I recall, they were going to help us with the bids. There was a couple $1,000s in there, and I think we never used that money. So I know Pat's checking, but there may be a few dollars left over there.
So far, we've paid them $29,006, and according to the original resolution, it was a maximum of 32.
So we have 7 left over, roughly?
No, wait.
29.
I'm sorry, what was the
20
numbers again? I apologize.
3 left over.
3 left over. I'm sorry, I
2800.
misunderstood the numbers.
You have 3,000.
Okay, so then you need 4.
But it's
something like.
in clarity, Pat, it's not really left over. The resolution had a cap. Correct?
Yes, because it had an additional $4,000 allowance added to it.
So there's really not money left over because it's not as though we just didn't spend.
That's correct. We didn't spend it. The original contract was for $26,200 with an additional $4,000 allowance. And we paid them $29,600. And I'm trying to read the entire resolution.
Yeah, I think there was another $2,000 for some geotech work. So I think that's how you got the 32.6. So we spent 29. Sounds like there's about $2,000 to $3,000 left over.
Exactly.
So presumably we could use that up and amend for anything for the balance. I could scratch something together, Matt, as far as the final numbers. I could talk to Manganero and work with Pat and Dave to get a resolution prepared for this.
As well as Adam. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that seems to be the consensus of the board. Am I correct?
Yes.
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 Councilman Patel?
Yes.
Okay. So then if we can get this on for next week, we can
Yes.
get this moving. The other reason why it's timely is because Superintendent Paganelli and I were having conversations with Remus, and we told them that once we got past the April 30th tax deadline and we could reassess where we were, we'd be in touch with them as to the future direction of the project itself. But I wanted to bring it before the board to have a comprehensive conversation before we had that conversation with Remus. Correct, Superintendent Paganelli?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Dave, do you have any idea of when they could begin the project?
Quickly.
Yes, actually, the reason Matt and I had, Supervisor Slater and I had, spoken to them was that we wanted to assure that we wouldn't run into a problem like we did last year when all of a sudden our materials had been given away to someone else. So we had, in essence, agreed to make them whole for the $130,000 that they were on the hook for in order to keep that. It's a tremendous amount of material. So to keep that material in stock, so to speak, we told them we would make them whole for that $130,000. So the material is in stock. And I, after speaking to them today, Matt and I spoke to them today. I believe that, they're anxious to start ASAP. And my guess would be within a week to 2 weeks, they'll be on the move. So
that's great. That's great.
And listen, also, just in case anybody at home is looking at me and it doesn't look like I'm moving around much, because a few people have texted me and said, you're staying very still and quiet. It's because it's a photograph. Listen, I'm easing into
Dave, my wife was very impressed. She was texting me. She said, what's wrong with Dave? He's not blinking.
Yes, I got lost.
I said you were focusing really hard.
I'm really paying attention.
We thought that Highway got a new crash test dummy.
God.
Well, that's half right.
Too funny. All right, good. So I'm glad we got some direction from the board on this. Again, we recognize the importance for the residents and balancing that with everything else that we're dealing with. But I think that it's the right decision. But we're going to move on to. Are there any other comments from the board?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Diana, do we have or anyone for the next? I know we have John Tegeter, but I think we have Sergio Esposito with Bob Giordano joining us as well. Yeah, you're on mute. You're still on mute. Yep, you're good.
Sergio's on, but I don't see Bob as of yet.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Serge.
Hey,
How you doing, buddy?
Sergio.
I gotta
Sergio.
tell you, Dave, when you see your picture on the TV, it's a little blurrier because it's not in HD, and all you hear is your voice. It's a little creepy. I mean, not your picture, just it looks
It's
like
hilarious.
it looks like you're really there. That's why, because the picture it's you. So it's that's why people are texting you. I had to look a couple of times. I'm like, he's not moving.
That's funny.
All right, so we're here to talk about the next phase in something that the Reboot Yorktown Task Force brought to us. We started with restaurants and expanding outdoor seating options, streamlining the outdoor seating process from the town's perspective, and also eliminating the fees temporarily for the rest of this year. As a reminder, our building department's already beginning the application process, which they're already starting to take those applications and begin their assessment. When we had that discussion, both Sergio Esposito of the Yorktown Chamber of Commerce and Bob Giordano of the Yorktown Small Business Association brought to the board's attention additional businesses that would benefit from similar use, and meaning the outdoor use. And so we wanted to continue that conversation while we had the time. We have our planning director, John Tegeter, with us. John Landy is not on, is he, Diana? No? But I think it's a good opportunity for us to continue that conversation. to see what additional parameters that we can put into place. We have here, and John, why don't we, I think it's important for us to explain to folks at home, because you and I had this conversation. It's not really just C1 and C2 zones. It's more than that, correct?
Yeah, we have 4 commercial zones, C1, C2, C3, C4. They basically tier upon one another. So what we're talking about, which is basically your retail core businesses and personal service establishments and the like, that is allowed in all 4 of those zones. So I would think that to the extent that some of the C3 and C4, that those types of businesses that you decide would be eligible for this, you may want to consider for those zones as well. So I know on the agenda it just says C1, C2, but.
Right, exactly, and that's what I wanted to make sure that we're, and I want to go actually to the governor's priority industries for reopening, because I think we might be able to piggyback on this a bit. I was just thinking this through a little bit more today, because it's not just based on zone. I think it's more so based on the type of business. And Sergio, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the timeline for the types of businesses that are going to be opening, sure.
So if you're looking for, so for those at home who may not know, part of the reopening process that the governor has put forth includes a phased in reintroduction based on industry. Phase 1 is construction. It includes manufacturing and wholesale supply chain, and select retail using curbside pickup only. Phase 2, professional services, finance and insurance, retail, administrative support, real estate and rental leasing. Phase 3, restaurants and food services, hotels and accommodations. And the last phase is arts, entertainment, recreation, as well as education. And so what I'm wondering is if we can identify some way, and I welcome the board's comments, John and Sergio, of course, do we look at, professional services, and do we qualify and quantify them differently than retail? Is there things that we can do for professional services differently than we can do for retail? I think that's the kind of focus we need to have, rather than just on the zoning parameters that's identified.
Well, I think you can certainly, if you're going to do a law as we did for the restaurants, I think you could separate those out, and if they need to be phased, I think you could probably do that. I think in terms of the personal service, we'd have to narrow down, exactly what those are. There's a whole host of those types of things.
Yep.
And they have probably different needs, and whether or not they can fit out on their sidewalk or whatever they have in front of their store is, something that we have to think about, I think. So.
And I do want to point out that our building inspector, John Landy, has joined us. John, it's great to see you. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Yep.
And John, I don't know if John Landy, I don't know if you heard what I was saying, but rather than focus on zones, I think it might be better for us to focus on the type of industry and the type of business, and what we're going to be able to do for them particularly to help enhance their business during the phase and process.
Can I just say something? Because with regard to some of the businesses, and I'm only looking at the industry, not the zoning, they've already inherited the right to do what we're talking about. We don't have to give them any new rights. A jewelry store. If he wants to set up a table outside of his store, he can set up a table outside of his store. So I think we got to tread lightly, because there are existing rights already given to many businesses.
So if a jewelry store decided, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Sergio, please.
So John, I guess this question is for you, and I hope you're doing well, buddy. I gave you a call, and I hope everything's all right. I called your office today.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess this is for you, John. If a jewelry store wanted to set up a table outside, any business, let's just not say a jewelry store, but any business that has a storefront has the ability, and I just want some clarification because I believe you said yes, they do. They already have the ability to put a table outside.
I believe they do, yes, but it would have to be in a safe condition.
Correct.
So what we're talking about is if like a restaurant, if they wanted to put up some kind of a temporary structure or something like that, like a tent or something like that to protect themselves.
That was addressed in the first rendition of the outdoor dining. That's going to be taken care of by the building inspector.
For restaurants.
Correct.
Right. So we're talking about possibly extending that kind of an ability to the retail industries as you guys see fit. Is that right? Is that part of this? It's not just a table.
It could be. I wanted to make sure that we were clear, though. I mean, if we're talking about retail, they currently, to Councilman Roker's point and our building inspector's point, they can currently put something outside of their stores to sell merchandise. So if you're asking us, what about a temporary structure? Is that the question?
Yeah, because I mean, we established that these businesses, could already put a table out. So we wanted to, I guess we wanted to extend the same type of service that restaurants would have, like if they needed a tent or something,
So so Mr. Landy, could a retailer put a temporary structure up?
Well, in the current law with that, not the restaurant new law, but the current law, no. They would not. They could put it on a table on the sidewalk, but they would not be able to put up a structure like in a parking lot or something like that currently, no. That would be a special permit.
John, and I would agree with that because if you look at many of, probably most of the jewelry stores, they're in like these strip malls. So the only place they would have to go is in the parking lot.
Correct.
And no one has an inherent right to be to put up a structure in a parking lot.
Well, our current laws would send you back to planning because you were taking up parking spaces and it would have to be calculated.
That's correct.
You have to calculate to see if you need the parking or not. But with the new law that the board has graciously approved for restaurants, it forgoes all of that. It's you don't have to worry about any of that. We have to go in and make sure that the tent's up in a safe area, that there's proper protection. So could you do this for a retailer? Well, I guess you could, but now you're going to end up with tents all over in parking lots, one for restaurants, because a lot of restaurants are in these strip malls also with these retailers. So now you're going to have all these pop-up tents and you're not going to have any parking for these people.
But the assumption
that would be a problem.
The assumption is that everybody's going to take advantage of it. Like, for instance, dry cleaners are probably not going to want to set up in the middle of a parking lot because they're not going to want to walk back, pick up your clothes, take your ticket. So it's not going to be that, that there's going to be 100% participation in this. What we want to do is we're trying to, and I think the spirit of the law or the spirit of the incentive is to give people, shoppers, the comfort level that some places they don't necessarily have to go inside in order to allay some of their fears or concerns about going inside, because they, as we said last time, a lot of people are still going to be very apprehensive. And so, of course, if you have a strip mall with 10 places and 10 places put in their permit for it, it's not an inherent right to be granted the permit. That's where the building inspector comes in and says, look, we don't have the room. You will last. You put your permit in last. But at least they'll have the opportunity. And then whoever decides to take advantage of this opportunity, right, to not only expand and allay the fears of the people that we're trying to draw out, so to speak, they'll have another option. And I think that's where we're coming from.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear, Sergio. John Taggart, are there any parameters within the zoning code? I know that we had talked earlier about, Councilwoman Roker mentioned earlier about they already have the right. Does that apply across all zones, all zoning components, or do you know that? Can we define that for us?
Well, I can tell you that we just talked about the C1, 2, 3, and 4 zones and how they tier upon one another, and John Landy is well versed in this. In the C1, the first section that talks about allowable uses is retail shops, and it lists a host of other things, including bank, post office, restaurants, and things like that. It goes on to say, except that no use shall be permitted where any part of the service is conducted outside the premises unless a special use permit has been issued by the planning board after due notice and public hearing.
So they would need then the similar outdoor seating process that the restaurants were going through. So then what I think would be helpful from Sergio's standpoint is for us to implement the same process for outdoor seating that we're giving to restaurants now my question is it just C1? Is it just a C1 zone, or is C2 and C3 and C4, do they have that same restriction?
I'm sorry.
The other zones, the other commercial zones require the special use permit.
Yes, because the way it's written in the C2, it says one of the allowed main uses is the same use as in the C1 A1, and it talks about that paragraph. So the whole paragraph should come in. So yes, I believe that's so.
So what is the process of getting a special use permit according to the
planning board? You have to go to the
planning board action.
Right. So that's why I'm saying what I think we're trying to get to is providing a streamlined process for that special use permit. Correct? In the same manner that we're providing a streamlined process for the outdoor seating.
Correct. But
yes, that was the discussion.
Can we sit back 1 second and take a look at where our main retailers are in town? Okay. You have Triangle Shopping Center, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You have the JV Mall. Where else, Sergio, would you believe that we have some main retailers that may want to take advantage of this?
So I'm not sure. What I would like to see is we give people the ability that this is out there as an option, and you let them come back with their creativity.
But I'm trying to say, where do you think their locations would be? You have, like I said, you have
Yorktown Pizza and Pasta.
No.
Yorktown Pizza and Pasta. That's the restaurant, though.
I'm talking.
We're talking about the restaurant.
The Underhill Plaza would be one. Along East Main Street would be another. Along Route 6, Main Street, Shrub Oak, some locations there. Wishes over by Commerce. There's a little jewelry store now on here. So there are other areas where they may be looking.
Because what I'm thinking, and hear me out for a minute, maybe we go to JV Mall. And the location where they were gonna put the ring road, and then they were gonna put like some new buildings off to the side there.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we see if we can have the JV Mall allow tents set up over there, so these retailers who do not have space can bring their goods over there to sell.
I think we said.
Oh, I don't know that we can take the JV malls. We can.
No. I'm saying talk to them.
Well, you can ask them. You can request it. But I think part of the problem we heard from Bob Giordano last week was that we wanted to keep it at their current establishment. Correct?
Again, yes, that's correct. Again, that's certainly John, that's certainly a great suggestion. And it's, again, another thing that you could put in the mixing pot and say, hey, guys, look, here's what we have. Here's the hand we're dealing you, right? You could do this, you could do that. We understand it's tough, and we understand this isn't this ideal thing. But you know what? Here's some options that we could give you as the town, you guys, not me. We could give you as the town, right? That will allow you to think creatively, and if you could use them, man, that would be fantastic. If they work to your advantage, fantastic. What we as the town, you guys, right, would like to do is offer you the opportunity, and this is what you have, and to give them the options. You'd be surprised what people come up with. I mean, you'd be surprised.
You know, Sergio, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Do you give me some businesses that this would assist, if you don't mind, because they all have brick and mortar, so to speak, and people will be apprehensive, and I get that. I agree with you. People will be apprehensive to go into the stores, so on and so forth, social distancing and the like. I'm just trying to figure out how this is going to help their business. I can understand a sidewalk table out front where people can shop, or maybe a couple racks of clothes for a boutique or something of that nature. But I don't know how tents in parking lots are going to assist the retail.
That's not necessarily the case, right? And so, and it not only, I not only believe, I'll tell you how it will inadvertently affect, be positive for retail, because people may not want to ordinarily go inside your retail establishment, but if there's something outside and people are kind of a little more laxed outside, they're a little more trusting if you have an environment that's outdoors in this pandemic environment. And so, you might draw more people in. I'm just looking at giving businesses options. This is the thing that came up at the task force, and a lot of people were on board with it. So we figured.
Did you have a specific? But I think to Councilman Diana's point, have you had a specific business come to you?
No.
And say this would be. No, I'm just as an example, just so we can wrap our head around it a bit more.
No, this was born out of the task force, and we figured we'd extend the same courtesy, to the rest of our retail shops. So this way, I'll give you an example, and I mentioned one before. How about a dry cleaner? According to John Tegeter, they can't really, unless they get the special use permit, they can't really conduct their business outside. They have to be inside. They can't just put a table outside. Did I understand that correctly, John?
Why can't they put a table out?
Yes.
They can put a table outside.
It says you need a special use permit for it.
Not for a table.
John, can you clarify that for us?
Okay, so I'll just read it again. It's so CAC1, the first paragraph that goes through the allowable uses. It's stores or shops for the conduct of retail businesses, goes on to another few things, including personal service establishments. And then it says, except that no use shall be permitted where any part of the service is conducted outside the premises unless a special use permit has been issued by the planning board after due notice and public hearing. So from that, I think it needs to be, it has traditionally been the planning board. We've given outdoor sales permits, for instance, to AC Moore. They put a whole host of product out there in front of their store in the good weather hours. Yep. Lowe's has one. A&P is gone, but Acme does the same thing. They stock some stuff outdoors. So all of that gets a special use permit from the planning board. I understand a small table is a small table, but if they're conducting the business out there, basically they get caught in that.
Well, that's why I was curious about that, because I've never seen anybody in Yorktown actually do that. And if you were allowed to do that, you would think people would take advantage of something like that, especially on a mild day or a sunny day, bring their stuff up. But nobody does that. Why? Because they're not allowed to. And so what we want to do, the idea for the task force, what we wanted to do with that is just expedite that process. It's temporary, right? This is just till the end of the year. which I really, come October, nobody's going to really be conducting business outside anyway. It's going to be too cold. So it's really only for, a few months, in my mind,
John Landy, what are your thoughts on it?
My concerns are safety, public safety.
But if we
Correct.
are putting them in the same box as what we're putting the restaurants and their outdoor seating, you and the building department would have to ensure that public safety is being adhered to.
Right. And for these retailers along East Main Street and areas like that, where they are not going to be able to put up an outdoor area safely, that's why I want to see maybe we can try and make this loose where they can go off site somewhere.
Well, no, but I think from some of the people that John had mentioned that came for a special use permit, if you think about East Main Street, I think about some of the retail that's up over by Verizon, CVS, right?
Mm-hmm.
None of those people would be able to have some type, and to Sergio's point, even a table, because they would need a special use permit to be able to have that.
Correct.
So are we doing them right by making that as simple as we can, considering the circumstances?
I would say yes.
Well,
if you made it like the restaurant, why not? Then we go in, we look at it, evaluate the situation, see where they can go, and help them out.
So I mean, just so I'm coming across correctly. I know it's not perfect. All right. I mean, I dare anybody to come up with something perfect in this whole. This is crazy. This is a mess out there, and it's not perfect. It's not going to fit everybody. John, you're going to come across the business, and you're going to say, "Listen, dude, you're out of your mind. You cannot put a table here because you're going to." It's not going to be
jeopardize the safety of your customers and the people walking by. I mean, if you can't do it safely, then you can't do it. But
it's another tool, right?
Yeah, I agree. I understand what you're saying.
That's all I'm saying.
I understand. John Tegeter, would we have to amend just C1, or would it be all the zones?
Well, if I think if you're going to open it up to folks that may benefit from it, I would think about all of the C zones. The C1 zone is essentially your shopping centers.
Yeah.
Kmart Shopping Center, Triangle. C2 is what you have along Commerce Street. The smaller retail that you find in the in our commercial hamlets. So
I just want to. I know you said they built on each other, so I didn't know if we amended just C1 if it would apply to all, or if we have to specifically do it for each zone.
It depends on where you embed this language. I think Adam should.
Yeah, of course. Adam, any thoughts?
But it depends on how you write it and where you put it. I'll put it that way.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm like Tommy. This is hard for me to envision. What I can envision is tables in front of places like my dry cleaners. That's over at the Triangle Shopping Center. What I can't envision is that my dry cleaner putting up a tent over there, because when you start, when everyone wants a tent, you are going to go either in the fire lane or you're going to take up some parking spaces. And that really, when a shopping center is given those parking spaces, it's given it for a reason. So you're going to have fewer people parking there. And that's going to upset a lot of people more than anything if they can't quickly find a parking space. So it's hard for me to understand this one. A table I can understand, a tent I can't.
But wouldn't that be at the discretion of the building inspector?
Yes, that I would never let them put up anything in a fire lane, for one.
Right.
Two, I don't believe that
if they did put something at the fire lane, Councilman Diana will personally come and write them a summons, because it's one of his biggest.
That's one of my pet peeves. I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, we've been doing a very good job at writing up.
I know you have. I just had to make sure Councilman Diana was awake over there.
I'm awake.
There you go.
The next thing is dry cleaners. I don't really see a big rush on a lot of people being in a dry cleaner at once, where if they open, I think that they can handle social distancing within their own building, within their own store. I don't believe they would need, the only thing they would need a table outside for is to take your ticket, go inside, get your clothes, and come back out. So
right, but right now they can't. But right now, in order for them to accomplish that, they need a special use permit, which requires planning board approval in that entire process.
Depending on the they're in, correct.
So if we wanted to help them achieve that, just like we do for restaurants, we could put a similar process in place temporarily.
Correct. You'd have to, yeah.
I have a question for building inspector John Landy.
Yes, sir.
Suppose the CVS or any shopping center over there, outside land is the ownership of the building, the owner or the tenant? Who's right? Permit is okay. You give the permit, then you can put it in. It's like a flea market, one-time things. But do they have to deal with the landlord who is renting out if there is other than their own table they are putting in? Somebody wants to come and rent it, not the owner of the store.
That's a very good question, Mr. Patel. They would have to get the landlord's permission to do that. That would be part of the process.
Right, just like the restaurants have to get SLA approval if they're going to be serving.
You know what I found out about that, Sergio?
What'd you find out?
The governor let them now do takeout for liquor.
Yeah,
I
knew that.
Deliver it.
That's
So
why you got places like Papoose is with their.
I forgot to mention today's Cinco de Mayo, so I called Hacienda Salsa, and they're bringing margaritas for the whole town board, but we can't find all of you.
I'll take them all. I'm only sharing with Diana.
The point
being, I'm here. I'm looking out for all of you.
The point being, restaurants can bring your own bottle or do takeout curbside.
Right. But that's why, again, Papoose has had their sangria specials going on for a while.
But can you drink it outside on the street?
Then again, open container law violation.
Yeah, that's part of criminal law.
So let's just go back to the matter at hand. So we can come back to this. We don't need to make a decision tonight necessarily. But to me, I think we got some clarity though on the fact that for businesses in C1, C2, C3, C4, if they wanted to put something outside, whether it's a table or whatever, they would currently need a special use permit, which requires planning board approval in that entire process.
Correct.
So if we wanted to provide a streamlined process for them, like we did for outdoor seating, we could consider that.
Now, are we talking about a tent like a permanent structure, like one of these tent companies would come in and put up for a wedding or are we talking about a 10 by 10 pop-up?
It's up to the discretion of the building inspector, just like we're doing right now with the outdoor seating for restaurants, correct, John and John?
Correct. I don't think you can do this and leave planning out. I think planning, John in particular, has got to be in the mix with this as well. Just because he's the one that hands the site plan to these people.
But the problem with that, Councilwoman, is that their meeting schedule traditionally is every other week.
No. I don't care. I'm not talking planning board. I'm not talking the board. I'm saying that at least John Tegeter has to look at these applications in addition to John Landy.
But if mechanically, gentlemen, how does that work?
I don't believe John, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, Mr. Tegeter, his authority is the board.
Is the board? You mean planning board?
Correct.
So if we could go back a step, what the intention of this was from the task force was this was supposed to be a temporary, expedited, process. And, and if Ms. Tegeter is comfortable with putting it in Mr. Landy's lap, I mean, I think, again, this is like supposed to be this expedited, quick, safe thing. And I think if we start adding stuff, and John Tegeter, I'm not stepping on your toes. I hope you know I love you. So
I get big toes, big toes.
So anyway, I just I want to take it a step back and remind everybody this is supposed to be this expedited thing. So we got more people looking at it, and if John Tegeter is comfortable with John Landy running with this, I mean, I don't know. I mean, again,
I don't want to set John Tegeter up like that. That's requiring him to answer that question, Sergio. Let's not do that.
No,
because that puts him in a bad light.
But in all fairness, though, we did come to that agreement and understanding with the outdoor seating of restaurants, correct?
Yeah, let me just say that I'm happy to work with John Landy in whatever way helps this along. So up to you guys how this is structured, but I'm happy to pitch in the time, to help John get it done. So.
Adam Rodriguez, when we did the emergency order, I don't believe there's a requirement for planning involved in that process, correct?
Correct. By the way, there's nothing to stop John from calling John to ask his opinion on something informally. I mean, he's certainly free to do that, notwithstanding the construct that was put in place for the eateries.
Right.
And from my understanding, all I'm really looking at is safety. Is it safe to where they want to do it?
Right. Exactly.
That's all I'm really looking at.
And what are our parameters of safety, John? Would it just be for vehicular traffic, et cetera, or would it be 6 foot distancing, et cetera, et cetera? How, we can take this out.
All of the above. All of the above. Make sure that they have the social distancing. They're not blocking fire lanes. They're not blocking any entrances or exits for fire trucks to get in. That no vehicle can accidentally run through the tent. Things of safety nature. That's really what I'm looking at.
All right. I'm still going to just ask that you send a copy of those applications. Pass the copy on to John. The other John.
I keep having to turn on my off mute. I don't have a problem with calling John up. We've talked on.
No, I don't want you just to call him. I want him to get a copy of whatever application they submit.
I have no problem, but all I'm getting is a written application. I'm not getting a site plan. I'm not getting any type of.
No. I understand that.
So
I understand that.
I can shoot him over a copy of it. No problem.
Okay, that's perfect.
But as far as fire safety and things like that, I don't believe he has authority over that.
Okay.
Other members of the board?
Well, we run it up the flagpole, see where it goes. How many have you been getting, John Landy, with regard to this? Have you gotten many?
Well, I'm the only one that's actually I think I'm the only one that's putting the word out. I'm going to restaurants. I'm trying to talk to these guys, see what their feeling is. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. They're asking me where could they put it, and I'm trying to basically go through it. And what I could also do is the remaining of this week, go out and do like a survey of the town and see retailers where they possibly could be able to set something up and take a look and see if it could be done safely.
Hey, look,
that's great. That's great, John. Is it possible for you to go to, let's say, like Underhill Plaza and go and look and say, okay, if these people wanted to do something, they can do tables on their sidewalk But in terms of structures, this is where they would have to do a structure.
Absolutely, and I would do the same for East Main Street. I would do it
Right.
for all retailers in
That makes sense.
Confines of Yorktown, and
Okay.
take a look at that and see where we can go. And Supervisor, I'd still like to do a PSA and get it out. So
Yeah, you and I know we were gonna do it. We were supposed to do it yesterday and today, and we got tied up. So we'll do it tomorrow. No problem.
Yeah, and just on the structure thing, I think restaurants are probably it would probably be more urgent for the restaurants to have a structure. So just because if they have seating or something like that, they don't want to bring it in.
I agree with you.
Well, that
I
law-
agree with you, Sergio.
Yeah.
That law is already in place, and this way, if we can get this PSA out and we can get the word out that they can come into me now and make application, I can send them over to John Tegeter for his eyes, and if he wants to run by these places and take a look and give me his suggestions, also, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that one bit. Or if he wants to meet me there and we can go over it, that's fine also. But I've already been doing that to a lot of the restaurants in the area. I've already scoped out
Excellent.
a lot of places where they could put up these tents and without impacting the parking too much, without impacting safety or fire lanes or any of that nature. So I'm already trying to work on it. Again, I got a lot of positive feedback, but also that, and that's how I found out with this this law that they can do takeout alcohol. Because
Right.
I was bringing up the question of you're going to have to go to SLA, and they're like, wait a minute, we can serve to go alcohol, and they can bring it out into the tent. So they're not too concerned about that.
I also heard the government and a lot of towns talking about this outdoor seating thing. So I don't think that's going to be. I'm guessing, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. But John, I will tell you, the Taco Bell is looking to put their application in. I was talking about that. They would love to have outdoor seating, and I think that's an ideal spot. That just
Who's
works.
that?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Down in the Kmart shopping center. Yeah, they have that nice big area in
They
front.
got that nice big area right in front.
Right on the, they've got a big area on the side.
Yes, they do.
So then, all right. So then, moving forward, how does the board want to proceed? Do we want to do the same as we did with the outdoor eating, with the outdoor seating for our eateries? We can do
Yeah.
a dual
I think-
track.
I think so, Matt. I think it's just, I don't see many retailers per se probably jumping on board with this as much as the restaurants would.
I agree. I agree with you, Thomas.
Just going up and down East Main Street in Shrub Oak here, I can think of maybe one place that would probably want to jump on board. Probably Lakeland Lumber, so they could serve their people outside because they basically blocked off their yard. They bring everything out front. So I think we're probably going to see restaurants jumping on board with this and eateries. Let's not even say restaurants, eateries more than anything else. So I think we just proceed with it as we did the other.
Yeah, and Lakeland Lumber is already doing it in the parking lot.
Right.
See, I agree.
Okay, so then we will proceed. So then we will proceed the same as we did with the outdoor seating streamlined process. We will, and as the board, let's do this. I'll make a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign an emergency order streamlining this special use permit process for C1, C2, C3, C4, as well as eliminating associated fees for that special use in the same manner that we did for outdoor seating for our restaurants.
So
I agree. I agree with that. Just to put a caveat in there of a sunset clause that this will end on this date, October 1st.
Temporary for it'll just be for this year, for the rest of the year. That's the way we did it with the restaurants.
Right.
I agree.
And when will be effective? Roughly, if somebody wants to start right away.
Yeah, well, that's why I want the motion's on the floor for me to sign an emergency order, so that'll be effective when I sign it. So we have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. And then we will also have our town attorney draft it into legislative form so we can do both, just like, again, we did with the outdoor seating expansion.
And just to answer Vishnu, Councilman Patel, I believe what we said in the last round, that the application process was going to be available. You could get your approval ahead of time. You could be ready to go, but you have to wait for the governor's orders to lift the ban.
Right.
So I think that, I mean, we're going to be able to get these restaurants and whoever wants to participate in our commercial districts to apply early, get approved, and then they're just going to have to sit and wait like we all are. You know.
See, I think the restaurants are going to really like this idea, and I think people are going to like the idea they can sit outside.
Oh, they're going to love that. Yeah.
All right, good. Perfect. Sergio, good work. And again, a big kudos to the Reboot Yorktown Task Force. This is where this whole idea came from. Bob Giordano was a big champion of that as well. So good work. And we will keep pushing for the next thing that we're going to bring out to the town board.
All right. I'm in. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate all your time. Have a good night.
Stay well, Sergio. Thank you.
Good night. Readers are coming.
All righty. Next on the agenda is the Featherbed subdivision. We have with us Jorina, site design, and our town engineer, Michael Quinn, back. I want to preface with this was something that I wanted to put back on the agenda following last week's discussion at our town board meeting. I think at this point, Mr. Arena has an update from the developer standpoint. Mr. Arena?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Joe.
Good evening, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
So as a follow-up to our last week's meeting, I've had some subsequent discussion with my client. And as I had stated at the time, my client is looking for the most reasonable and easiest approach to getting his approval for this project. So we are at this point overlooking scenarios 1 and 2, and we're looking at scenario 3, where each residence not only would have its own sewage pumping system, but in addition, it would have a permanent standby generator to provide backup generation in the case of a power outage. So essentially, each property will be on its own and independent, and will not require any assistance from the town during the power outage.
Which I know Councilman Diana was very vocal about this during the last town board meeting. And I think this addresses those concerns as well as others that we've heard as a result of that. I want to bring in both John Tegeter and Mike Quinn. One of the other things that we've learned since the last meeting is that there is nowhere in our code that addresses low pressure sewer systems, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so we have found, and I want to thank Jorina as well for really digging in on this and being a great partner on this. And so we found other town codes from other Westchester municipalities who have had low pressure sewer systems approved. And so we believe at this point that we're going to advocate for option 3 with the amendments made by the developer to put the generators for each house, which provides the absolute least amount of exposure for the town, which guards against setting a dangerous precedent, which both Councilwoman Roker and I were very concerned about last week. But we're also going to bring this. We have one in particular that I think we're looking at, which is the town of North Castle. Their code, which we think that we can incorporate into our sewer code. And we're going to advocate to the health department, again, considering that North Castle has had similar projects and similar sewer low pressure systems approved, that this is a suitable solution. Am I correct on that?
Yes, that sounds
Matt.
correct.
I think that North Castle project was only approved in the last year, so it's very relevant. What they're incorporating in their code would be something like we would want to do for Yorktown. We're going to circle back to the health department based on some comments we received and this North Castle code, which they referred us to, and just resolve a few more discrepancies.
Perfect. John Tegeter, I know you've culled through this pretty extensively. I know that the planning board discussed low pressure systems last night. I believe there are portions of this that are already in our code. Is that correct?
Well, if you look at some of the examples that were dug up relative to North Castle, a lot of the language in there is shared by our code already. So when it talks about the right to inspect and easements and so forth, a lot of that language is almost verbatim exact that we have already in our code. I think it's a good idea to address low pressure systems and probably make another section of the code that addresses those specifically and bring together all the pertinent language that makes sense for us.
Perfect. And then Mr. Quinn, in regards to the Department of Health, you're going to make the inquiries along with Joe Rena to get a litmus test as to whether or not this is going to be suitable. Again,
yes,
recognizing the fact
That's
that there's precedents here that they set for another community in Westchester County.
Right. We should, contact them the next day or two, and we'll report back to you.
Okay. Question.
Can I just ask one question? I still have one question, and John Tegeter and Mike Quinn might know the answer. And it concerns the ownership of the pipe that's going to be under this private road. Do we already have a sewer pipe under a private road? Because I don't know how that works.
They have to make a new one.
Well, the town would have an easement for the sewer pipe that runs on the private road, or if it runs on private property.
Okay.
I mean, I can think of the Lowe's project recently where we have something like 2,000 feet of water main that runs through the property. And we have, I believe, a 20-foot easement in order to access that line.
Right.
That's
right.
very typical.
So will we get the same thing for this subdivision?
Yes. And
Okay.
the plan is, as we currently are proposing, or as Joe Rena's plans currently propose, we would own, the sewer main up to the property line of each parcel.
Right, exactly.
And,
I got it.
everything property line, including the pump, would be owned and maintained by the lot owner. So that's how it was proposed. We got some comments back from the health department, and we're just resolving those issues. At the time, the proposal was not to install an emergency generator on each parcel, but as Joe mentioned, he's now spoken to the developer, and they're agreeable to have a permanently installed emergency generator. I believe the health department wants that to be in the deed, that they have to maintain that in perpetuity.
Right.
Those are things that we'll clarify with them over the next day or two.
Okay.
And is there any big septic collection for a day or two or something?
Right. So the health department requires a 1-day holding tank. So a family of 4 is 440 gallons. So I think they're going to have a 500-gallon holding tank, which is 1 day of storage, in addition to that pumping system.
I just want to clarify one point in regards to that. From my understanding from the health department's position, it's either or backup generator or the 1-day storage. We're probably going to do both, but it's an either or, I think, from their side.
That would make sense.
Other questions from the board?
Actually, Joe Rena, I'm just, last week I had suggested that possibly look at doing full-size generators to run the house. Do you know what they're doing? Are they doing just for the sewer? Did they decide to go with something for the household size?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a whole house generator. I mean, it's, it makes sense. It's going to, make their project more viable. It's going to make the sales more enticing to people. People are looking
Absolutely.
for backup
Sure.
systems.
Great. Good to hear that.
Yeah, I'm glad that we did have a meeting of the minds with this and come up with a reasonable expectation. And I can understand that the town is probably the ultimate backstop, as the supervisor and I had a discussion here. No matter what, we're not going to let sewage run out onto people's lawns if their generator breaks down and they have no power. But
Right.
that's Armageddon. Let's face it. Hopefully that won't happen, and then we have to move forward from our next projects.
Yeah, and I think that when you do something, you're looking in the future, and you don't want to give a future board. You don't want to burden them. And I think this really, last week I think I told you, Joe, I thought having a permanent generator really is an enticing idea, particularly when you're buying a new home.
It definitely will.
So, Joe, I have a question for you. How many amp circuit, power would have it? 200 amps for the house, or this will be more than 200? If it's 200, it's probably enough for that many bedrooms and the number of people.
No, these pumps are single phase pumps, so they are 115 volts. They're not 220.
No, it's like 15, 20 amps, right? You don't need it bigger than that.
Oh yeah, no, it's not much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, even these whole house generators, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, they only go on. They say whole house, but they actually only run certain circuits. Am I correct on that?
Oh, sure.
Well, it depends how big you want to go. You could go mega size and service everything, including air conditioning and whatnot. But they're probably going to go with something that will give the basic need, take care of the basic needs, refrigerators, furnace, so on and so forth. So I don't
sewer pumps.
think anything more than that is necessary.
Joe, I want to thank you and the developer for agreeing to do this.
Thank you.
No, it's a big help, and we made some good progress this week, coming off of last week's meeting, and now hopefully we can come back next week with the report from the health department. We're going to be anticipating that, and
But I think what we call this is an unfunded mandate.
it is definitely an unfunded mandate, and right now unfunded mandates are not something we can afford. So if we have to go advocate for that, then we will. But let's take the temperature of the health department, get a report back for next week, and then the board can make decisions as to how we move forward.
Joe, thank you so much for
Great
advocating
job,
for the contractor, and thank you for taking care of this.
Joe and John and Mike, great job.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, young man.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Thank
night.
you, Mike and John. Take it.
Okay, so then we're just going to wrap up with the following. We're going to authorize the town clerk to advertise bid for street and traffic signs for the highway department. We're going to extend bid for dry cleaning services for the police department, and we'll entertain as well a motion to accept the monthly report for the receiver of taxes. Do I have-
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And with that being said, I will also entertain a motion to adjourn, wishing the town of Yorktown a great night, and again, a very happy Mother's Day to all. Do I have a motion?
Thank you. Good evening.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Happy birthday to all. And you have a little extra thing happening with the children, so take care of the children to keep their school going on because they are not home from the school. So be safe and continue to learn at home.
Absolutely.
Yes. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, all.
Night.